Let's get ready for Monday Mortgage Minute with your hosts, Tom McNamara and Bruce Woodburn.
Good morning, Tom.
Happy Monday.
All right. Yes. Happy Monday, March 16th. Got a lot happening. Market is starting to spring back. We've lost about 70 basis points on the bond market since the war started. What has it been? 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And it hasn't been good for mortgage rates. But today,
Right. So that means rates rise, right? When the bonds go down, the rates rise, right?
bonds go down, rates rise. But today, market opened healthy on stocks and on bonds. We got new housing starts are up, which is positive news. So hopefully we can stay on this track and recover what we've lost in the last 3 weeks. That's the good news on the horizon. I think a lot of that is due to the oil and the market's just uncertain about how we're going to get our oil from the Strait of Hormuz. But I think that's going to start straightening out, and we'll get through this and things will get back to normal.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about something that I'm having conversations with my clients with all the time, and that is the tax relief, Florida property tax relief. It was all over the news. Everybody's, how are we going to get rid of our property taxes?
Yep.
There were more than 12 proposals in the House Act, in the House, what is it? The House
of Representatives put forward, yes. I think it is a dozen. I don't remember the exact number, but they put forward a ton of proposals. All but one of the discussed proposals got passed out of the House.
Right.
0 got passed out of the Senate. 0. Most of them didn't even get a hearing, didn't even get talked about. And it's really disappointing. There was a couple of them that were just no-brainers, right? Like there was an act that actually stated, this has nothing to do with even relief, that it would just be that a real estate website, whether it was an MLS site or a Zillow or whatever, had to show you the new property taxes if you bought it at the price that it's listed for versus the seller's current taxes, which, as you can be very deceiving. You know, somebody is looking at a house that they've lived in for 20 years. They might be paying $2,000. You buy it, you might be paying 12.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, and so it was a transparency act, right? Didn't even get through. These guys are they really screwed the pooch on this thing.
It's interesting because even lenders, we will look at that, and on all the county websites, you can run a scenario that would be what your estimated proposed taxes will be based on you filing. So you should be doing that anyway, because
but again, that's not how we're supposed to do it, right? In the MLS, we put in the current taxes because that's what the MLS tells us to do. This was going to change that. It doesn't, right?
Yeah.
There was one out there just to protect seniors over 65 making less than a certain amount of money. There was one that would give you relief if you had insurance, right? It's just, there was so many like little things that could have just helped some people out, but no, they didn't even pass any of those, let alone the really comprehensive ones that we all want.
When I look at it, I saw a couple of them that I thought would really you'd be able to sink your teeth into. And I thought that they had merit. But the problem that I'm finding is that I've heard nothing from anybody as to how they were going to replace the money. And I think that the general population needed to hear of something they can get their teeth into to weigh it out. Now, I know there was one or two that said we can raise your tax.
That one didn't even make it out of committee.
Yeah, right. They were going to raise sales taxes by 3%, and you had a 5% exit, but all taxes were going to be. But at least they came up with a plan.
Right.
If the other ones had a plan and said, yes, we can make up the money, we can make up $18 billion by doing this and this, and all three of those would save the average homeowner $4,000 a year in taxes, but cost you an additional $800 a year in sales tax. I'll do that one all day long.
Yeah. You're 100% right. And the big thing is what a lot of people don't realize, because the way the governor and a lot of other people position this was that the savings are there from the Doge audits, right? The Florida Doge audits, and they're going to put teeth in that and make the counties actually get their budgets down. Right?
Accountable.
Works perfectly. I understand it. I agree. However, right, I did this study over the weekend because I've got a great video that's going to come out next Sunday about this. Orange County, right? Orange County, all that they would have lost out of their $8.2 billion budget. And I don't know if you know that, but Orange County, Florida has an $8.2 billion budget. Okay. If they would have just wiped out homestead property taxes.
Now, are you saying 8.2 for just property taxes, or
No, that's the budget for the county.
whole
right?
budget?
That's the overall budget, how much they spend. Just wiping out homestead property taxes, okay, non-school,
Yeah.
$271 million. That's it.
It's a drop in the bucket.
3% of the total budget. Doge found $200 million in a few minutes. So it's there. They can make that happen. The problem is Alachua County, Wakulla County, they would lose 80% of their budget.
They don't have the tax base.
They don't have the tax base. And that's why the Senate blocked it, because the Senate president represents, I believe, Wakulla. I think that's how you pronounce it. Wakulla, whatever. So that's where he is. And he's looking at that rightly and going, you're screwing us, man. We can't do this. So he didn't even put any of them forward. All they had to do, the state has a $15 billion surplus. All we had to do was say, hey, listen, man, we'll take care of you. We'll make up the shortfall. That's it. It would have cost.
And it could have been done that way, because you're right. If you are rural, and I think you're probably trying to say Alachua County, but I'm
Well,
not.
actually, and then there's Wachula, or
Okay.
something like that with a W. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when you have a big metropolitan, Orlando or Miami or Tampa or Jacksonville, or even some of the smaller cities like Lakeland and things like that, they've got a lot of commercial paying taxes.
Correct.
There's a lot of
Correct.
tax base there, but you get into some of these remote farming areas, and we need those people. The state needs
Absolutely.
them. So there could have been a subsidy, but there was no plan. And when
Right.
you're going into this thing, you can't propose. I wouldn't go into a proposal to propose something to a client or a builder without having my exit strategy. Let me know.
Absolutely.
Here's how it's going to work once we finish this. But if you can't even give them that, then nobody's going to vote for it. And
So
it
here's
just,
the question, Bruce, is were they inept or did they just not want it to happen?
I think that they didn't think through the process. And
No, they're smarter than that.
you would hope so. You would hope so, but why would you propose something that you know is going to die?
'Cause I don't think
Even when
wanted-
they were proposing to legalize marijuana here, you had John Morgan all over the news saying we need to do this, and it still didn't pass.
I truly think they just wanted to say, hey, we tried. I really do. That's where I am right now. Maybe I'm wrong.
You're probably closer to right than wrong, because at the end of the day, maybe that's what it is, but there was no plan. There was no exit plan. And even the proposals weren't dialed in that great.
No,
No.
they weren't. So what I started looking into, because obviously if they can't figure out how to get it on the ballot, maybe we should, right? But it takes a lot. Florida's got one of the hardest hurdles, the biggest hurdles to have a citizen's proposal make it to the ballot. Okay. It takes,
There was a special assessment, what is, how do you even do that?
yeah. So you have to, I don't know what the exact mechanism and form is, but you have to get about 880,000 signatures,
Okay.
and they can't all be from the same place. It has to get at least 8% of voters in at least half of the districts. So we have 28 congressional districts. So you would have to get at least 8% of 14 of those districts and a total of 880. So it is a lot, right? We would have to get a lot of people to sign a petition asking.
And you got to
Well,
remember, some of those aren't even homeowners, so they could give a darn.
Absolutely. That's right. That's right. There's a lot of people that are renters that are be like, hell no.
Or they're like, it doesn't even affect me, even though it does, because if your landlord's taxes were to go down. But most of these that had any legs were all for homesteaded properties anyway.
Yeah, they were all for homestead. There was nothing made it out of the house that was for anything other than homesteads. And like I said, some of them were super simple, just 65 or over if you don't make a lot of money.
Right.
Come on, man. They couldn't even do that. And it's ridiculous. It really is.
Okay.
Very disappointed, but maybe next year.
Don't get your hopes up. Tax relief is not likely going to happen.
Nope.
It had to happen between January 13th and March 13th, and then it was going to go to the House or it was going to go to the voting ballot, but it's not even going to be on the voting ballot because it didn't get through the Senate.
So the one shot we have left, and DeSantis said this early on, but he hasn't enacted it yet, he said he was going to force a special session. So in the general session, they can cover whatever they feel like, right? They have time. They can, here's the things, here's our priorities, blah, blah, blah. In a special session, if the governor calls a special session, they have to address what he brings them together for. So they can't decide to do something else. So if he says, hey, we want a 2-day session, you got to sit down and hammer this thing out, they have to do it. That doesn't mean they have to pass it. It just means they have to hammer it out and talk. And they can't talk about other crap, which is good. However, here's the other thing they did. I don't know if you know this or not, but the legislature is constitutionally required to pass a balanced budget.
Yeah.
Guess what they didn't do?
Pass a balanced budget.
Correct. So now they have to have a special session just for
But
that.
that'll be a separate one, though.
Separate one, which means it's less likely they're going to have two. These guys are, I'm telling you, man, these guys are sideways. They really are. I'm over the whole thing.
And you've invested a lot into it to help educate my clients, your clients. I know you've had a lot of legs on your YouTube page for it.
Yep.
And because there was some merit in this, even if they had to raise our sales taxes by 1%, you wouldn't feel that much. You really wouldn't feel.
No.
The average family, it might be $300 a year at most. But if you could save $4,000, that
Correct.
would make a huge difference. And they could,
And one of the arguments against tax relief, and I understand the argument, I don't agree with it, but I understand it. Hey, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Trump, they're all going to get a lot more relief than you and me because they have multi-million-dollar properties. Truth. Absolutely. I get it. I understand. Okay. So there was propositions to just raise the exemption quite a bit, make the average family feel it less, right? Nope. Didn't do any of that either.
No.
They say what they want to do, but they don't actually do it.
you could limit it to where houses under $5 million or $3 million or pick your pick. But I will tell you, as time goes on, I'm doing more loans in the $2, $3, $4 million range than I've done in my career in Florida. We didn't have a lot of those. I'm starting to see more. I've got at least 3 this month that I'm closing that are well over $1 million transactions. And so property values are continuing to go up.
Absolutely.
So you would have to make adjustments to that. But even if you capped it at 3 million, I don't think and that could still give them some relief, but not as much as the family that has a $300,000 house, right?
Yeah. Again, nobody came forward with something that the Senate could pass. And your point is the valid point, right? They didn't replace the revenue. They didn't satisfy the rural counties, which they need, or districts, which they needed to do. And so it was a non-starter. So that's what they got to fix to figure this thing out.
I think if they would have just put all the stuff into Chat GPT, it would have told you what to do. It could have been done with it. Done deal.
Absolutely. 100%.
Got to run Tom McNamara, unbelievable EXP. If you need a great real estate agent, he's one of the best I've ever seen. I love working with you. You got 2 or 3 of my clients you're working with right now.
Someone signed up over the weekend.
I know you did. So I just want to tell anybody out there listening, we aren't just here to give you free and validated information. No fake news here. But if you need a great lender, I'm applying for the job. If you need a great real estate agent, please call Tom McNamara. Great resource. And I mean that sincerely. I don't say that because I'm on this podcast with you. I say it because it is the truth. Thank you, Tom, for all you do.
Thanks, Bruce. You have a great week.
You too. See ya.